Hello everyone, it's Dom, and in today's video I want to talk about the rise of the AI crawler, a little bit about the SEO implications. Some of people talk about it as an SEO bombshell, and I want to share the idea what we can do, going forward with this information and how to improve the efficiency between the AI crawlers, AI agents, and chatbots and websites. All right, so I'm gonna start with this blog article that was created in a partnership with Vercel and Merge agency that specialize in analyzing crawlers. So what they did was to record all the activity of the AI crawlers, including the search bots and all the bots on the websites for 1 month. And in that time, the results were that already the two most important AI crawlers, which is OpenAI and Anthropic Claude, was hitting nearly 20% of what Google crawlers do. It's really interesting because Google have like more than 2 decades head start in crawling business, and AI companies already catching up, which is kind of mind-blowing. The article talk about the data collection process. If anyone wants interested in that, I will share the link to the article in the description of this video. There is also a link somewhere into the open source library, how they did that. And the results are actually astonishing because if you take all the AI crawlers, which is including Applebot and Perplexity, it's already nearly 30% of what Google's volume, what Google is crawling. So this is what it looks like if you want to see a distribution on a graph, and they're slowly catching up. And another thing is interesting part is JavaScript rendering capabilities, which is basically rendering the website. It's when they hit the server, get the source, get the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and it turns out that only two bots actually render properly using JavaScript. JavaScript is the thing that gives you the interactivity of the website, but some of the websites are literally requiring JavaScript to show you the content. So that's mind-blowing because Googlebot obviously do that. So that's why it's indexing the search results. However, some of those AI bots download those files, only 11% or 20%, most likely for the training and understanding those files, but not executing them. So let me read that. Google's Gemini, which is the main AI model from the Google, leverage Google infrastructure for searching, which enabling full JavaScript rendering. That's good. However, actually the bombshell is, for me personally, is that only Apple actually do the same thing. Like browser-based crawler, similar to Googlebot. It processes the JavaScript, CSS, AJAX requests, and other resources needed for full page rendering. Now, obviously, so some of those crawlers download and fetch other content, not only HTML document, but JavaScript files. However, it's likely to train their models on various forms of web content to understand it. And let's talk about efficiency, inefficiency maybe. It turns out that when Vercel and Merge check the logs of the AI crawlers, actually turns out that for ChatGPT, that 1/3 is hitting pages that do not exist, which I personally don't know what that means. Well, you can speculate that maybe they hallucinated those resources. Maybe those links were created during training data, or maybe they created the index what URLs are to visit and they visited later on. It's actually really interesting because only Google, whatever they crawl, they try to index as fast as possible to avoid this time difference. And so yeah, straight off the bat, a recommendation for web developers for projects that for blogs and website is to use server-side rendering. Like, this is more important than ever for your website to be server-side rendered. Some SEO companies will tell you now today that, okay, Google is rendering your content, so it's not needed. Well, okay, now we have AI as a second important thing for consideration. And people might ask, okay, so what is this rendering like? I don't understand server-side rendering. So let me just quickly show you what that means. I found a super nice resource on the internet to show you what that means. So this is server-side rendering, and this is client-side rendering. And client-side rendering means that the shell of the website is downloaded, and then JavaScript renders the content. So there's this loading state, downloading the stuff, and then the content is shown in the browser. For the server-side rendering, on the other hand, the content arrives already. Content is generated on the server for each request, and then it's ready in the browser. The below one is hydrated, but this is not needed for this particular video. And just for the comparison, I'm just gonna say that nothing will beat static site generation. It's the fastest because the server don't need to think, compute, and there's no need for generating anything. Just action, reaction, request, response, super fast content. And if you're curious, there are other methods of rendering like ISR, which is including the fresh content. But right, so okay, so going forward, what that means, let me quote. Interestingly, even when asking Claude or ChatGPT for fresh documentation data, so basically a website that was used for this testing in this article, we often don't see immediate fetches in our server logs. This suggests that AI models may rely on cached data or training data, even when they claim to have fetched the latest information, which is mind-blowing. That explains why it's so fast to reduce this time, because when the websites are slow, for example, you need to wait this time here, it's very precious time for the user waiting for the response and making those AI applications super slow. So they rely on caching or something from the training data, and they claiming that this was the resource. Right, so just to show you the perspective about those AI crawlers, this is the blog post from one of the people on the internet, and that was his website. His blog post was crawled, and I'm gonna quote, read. I've personally been hit by OpenAI weeks ago, which managed to generate 49 terabytes of traffic, costing me about 13 euro for that day. So this shows you how powerful and how often those crawlers actually are on the internet. And later, an Anthropic tried to do the same, which is, how fast things moving. Just to show you the difference, it's super cool to understand that OpenAI tried to mitigate some of that, because obviously people try to block some of this traffic, don't want to pay for AI training data or models that will ask not render properly the website for the content. So what's the point just paying for the traffic? So OpenAI created actually the descriptions of 3 kind of bots. So they have a bot called GPTBot that only is used for training data, the AI foundation models. So you can block specifically that and not the others, which is ChatGPT user. Whoever use ChatGPT on the chat session, those bots are used to get the fresh content. And OpenAI search bot for indexing for, and probably this caching, ChatGPT search features. Okay, and now I want to show you the idea and explain how things might evolve in the future to improve efficiency between the websites and the users, and specifically, for the AI agents, AI applications, or chatbots, because yeah, everyone knows that it's inefficient today. So today, when the user asks for a website, the website itself comes back to the user's browser. However, when we interact with AI or AI interact with the websites, they also get today the website. So my idea is to use the special schema or special format in JSON format, only the data. Like skip the UI part, skip the graphics, skip the animations, and it's better to process this, and then AI can just give precisely the information what we want. So just to show you what I'm talking about, here's the typical e-commerce website with the product detail page, and just to show you, let me refresh. This website weight 11 kilobytes, just the main document, but the whole page is actually nearly 700 kilobytes. It's fast for the user. You can see it's super fast, but it can be faster if you want to do it at scale. So what I did, I asked ChatGPT to visit exactly that page, that product detail page, and convert it into this JSON format with all the information that user might be interested in. And it just immediately came back saying product name, price, description, color, some images, related products. So everything is structured. Okay, so now I ask him, can you pack it? So compress it into zip, and then this whole response is less than 1 kilobyte. So we're talking on a super slow connection on the mobile. It might take literally, I don't know, like quarter of a second to download it. So again, instead of, downloading megabytes or whatever, I think AI should rely only on the data format. And my idea is that the new kind of web development, the websites should respect who's asking based on header of user agent. If it's a real user, okay, show normal page. If it's a bot, just show the data, and we're gonna benefit all of us for that. All right, that's it. Thank you for today, and see you in the next video.